Okay, for what we have in the case problem number 5, okay, we're looking at choosing the best matching graph for each of the functions. And for what we have in the case of our two functions in this problem, we have g of x is equal to 2x plus 4 all over x squared plus 2x minus 8. And now, just looking at identifying what we have for the asymptotes, again, we have for the vertical asymptotes, those will stem from the exclusions of the domain of this function. So again, we have x squared plus 2x minus 8 cannot be 0. And we have in the layout, okay, so if I were to factor, I have the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 2 cannot be 0. Now, neither x plus 4 nor x minus 2 will be factors of the numerator. Okay, so there'll be no cancellation. So technically, g of x is already in simplest form. So we have that x cannot be negative 4 and x cannot be at 2. And those excluded values will be the vertical asymptotes. Now looking at the degree comparisons, okay, so we have, first of all, we have in the case of the numerator, okay, we have 2x plus 4, from which n is equal to 1, and in the denominator, okay, we have that m is equal to 2, and we have that n is less than m, and we have in the result, okay, so we're going to have a horizontal asymptote whereupon we have y is equal to 0. Now, looking at what we have among the graphs, okay, so we have, again, so you have the vertical asymptotes, x equals negative 4, x is equal to 2, so negative 4, 2, horizontal asymptote, we have a y is equal to 0, so A is still in the running, B, this is out of the picture, C, okay, still in the running, and we have for D, okay, we had the same vertical asymptotes, but we don't have the horizontal asymptote at y is equal to 0. E, don't have the perfect match, and in terms of all three asymptotes, F also misses the mark. So the possibilities can come down to A or C. And looking at comparing what we have here, okay, if you notice, we'll pick an x value that will have a distinct location for where the function will be situated. So if you notice, you have different y values where x is equal to 0. So we'll just say here that if I were to take plotter points, so we have x equal to 0, we are corresponding y value. We have 2 times 0 plus 4 is 4. And then we have 0 plus 0 minus 8, so I have negative 8. And 4 over negative 8 is going to be negative 1/2. So a point on the graph of this function will be at 0 and negative 1/2. And it looks like here when x is 0, we have a positive value in graph C. And here we have 0 and what looks like negative 1/2 in graph A. So in this case, so C is going to be out of the picture. And so we're going to have graph A. All right, now, for what we have in the case of our function h of x, here we have 4 all over x squared minus 5x plus 4. And if we look at exclusions from the domain, so you have x squared minus 5x plus 4 cannot be 0. And looking at factoring, so we have that x cannot be 4 or 1. And since we have the factors are not also factors of the numerator, these exclusions from the domain will be our vertical asymptotes. So we have vertical asymptotes situated at x equal to 4. And also we have x equal to 1. And in looking at what we have for the degree comparison, In the numerator, the degree is 0 since we do not have an x term. And in the denominator, we have the degree m is going to be at 2. So we have in the comparison, we have the n is less than m. And we have, in this case, we have a horizontal asymptote, whereupon we have that y is equal to 0. And in terms of the possibilities here, that we have all three of these asymptotes. Okay, so where we have y equal to 0, you have graph A, graph B, graph C, as well as E and F. But where we had the vertical asymptotes to be x equal to 1 and x equal to 4, A is out of the picture, B is in the running, C is not, D is not, and we have E is a possibility, and graph F is also a possibility. And in terms of separating what we have here, so you have graph B, graph E, and we have with graph F, and it looks like for what we have situated. So if I were to try out 0, so like graph F, you have -1 for y, -1 for y, and you have a +1 for B. Okay, and we'll see what we have for x equal to 0. So at least one of these will go out of the picture. So you have x at 0, and 4 over 0 minus 0 plus 4. Okay. And in this particular layout, okay, so you have at 0, 1. Okay, so we were down to the graphs here. So we had graphs B, E, and F. Okay, so where we have 0, 1, that's going to be with graph B, whereas in case of graph E and graph F, okay, those will be negative terms. So E and F are going to go out. So we have for the choice, that is going to be graph B. So we have for the first function, again, the choice is graph A. And so we have just in taking what we have now. So we have, so for function G, okay, the choice was graph A. And for the second function, the choice was graph B. And checking the results here. And the result is correct.